Welcome to Hear Yourself, and this time the topic is very different. Acoustical library. What is that? Let's see. Way back in 1999, I had the opportunity to attend the joint meeting of the Acoustical Society of America and the European Acoustics Association at Berlin, in Germany. That visit culminated a decade of self-study in the field of acoustics and with mentorship by the then Masters of India, Professor B.S. Ramakrishna and Dr. 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘁𝘁𝗁 in Bangalore, 𝗔𝗰𝗯𝘁 and 𝗔𝗰𝐺𝗁 in Mumbai, and 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝘀𝘁𝗀𝗁 in New Delhi. At Berlin, I had the good fortune of meeting many famous acousticians, amongst them the legend 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘁𝘁𝗀𝗁, and on my return to India, I was inspired to start and found an acoustical consulting firm, Sound Designs, which had a professional approach to the subject of acoustics for a country like India that was entering the 21st century. Sound Designs ran its course till 2014, and in the process left me with a rich legacy of books, which is what I'm going to talk about today. So what have you been doing during this pandemic, during the lockdown? A lot of time? Why not books? If you're an industry professional in the field of architectural acoustics and noise control, then reading up and expanding knowledge would be a good way to spend the time. You may have obtained a degree in acoustics and you may be practically experienced in the field. Yet, these books that I'm going to talk about are a reference guide for life, and I would recommend some of them to all of you. So why books? In the age of the internet, you have Google and other search options. Well, they give you information in bits and pieces, whereas books authored by some of the most famous acousticians have a structured approach and many experiences and examples that help us a lot as we go along. As I talk about the books behind me, some are must-have, some are very theoretical, some are very practical, and some are just for hobby. But it's my list of bestsellers. The acoustical library is divided into a number of categories just to help you understand the subject. Vast, but it helps to categorize. The history of modern acoustics is about 𝗕𝗲𝘀 and his cousins at Riverbank Labs, the most famous, and there's also collected papers on acoustics authored by 𝗕𝗲𝘀 himself. Moving on to the subject of acoustics, I've got 9 books for you, no particular order. Let's go through them one by one. Master Handbook of Acoustics by Alton Everest, a good practical book. Architectural Acoustics Design Guide by Acoustics James Cowan. Architectural Acoustics by David Egan. Architectural Acoustics Principles and Practice by William Kavanaugh and Joseph Wilkes. Architectural Acoustics by 3 authors, Madan Mehta, Jim Johnson and Hogg Rockford. Acoustical Design in Architecture by Knudsen and Harris, a famous textbook. Acoustics in the Built Environment by Duncan Templeton, a very practical handbook. Acoustics and Noise Control Handbook for Architects and Builders, Leland Irwin and Roy Richards. Finally, Architectural Acoustics by a Japanese acoustician, 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘁𝗀𝘀𝘁𝗃 Next are 4 books on audio. Acoustics is the behavior of sound as it emanates from the loudspeaker and reaches the ears. Audio is behavior of sound from the lips, from the mouth, to the microphone processing to the loudspeaker. Any study or understanding of acoustics is incomplete without the study of audio. Handbook for Sound Engineers by Glenn Ballow. Sound System Engineering by Don Davis and Caroline Davis. Live Sound Reinforcement. So this is about open air rock concerts and other open air events, but it helps a lot to understand about audio. Audio Engineering for Sound Reinforcement by John Ergel and Chris Foreman. It was sponsored by JBL, a Harman company. Architectural acoustics has to a large extent been about the study of performance spaces like concert halls, opera halls, and auditorium. The first book is quite a legend, How They Sound, Concert and Opera Halls by 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘁𝘁𝗀𝗰𝗹. Second, Auditorium Acoustics and Architectural Design by 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘀𝘁𝗶𝗰. And the third is a practical workbook, Theatres for Drama Performance. When we are dealing with specialty spaces, it's not just acoustics but the overall design that one has to keep in mind, and then it becomes important to have these books that talk about the design of these spaces beyond acoustics. Theatres by Roderick Ham, Planning and Guidance. It's not about cinema theatres but it's about auditorium. Theatre Engineering and Stage Machinery by Toshiro Ogawa. Sound for the Stage by Patrick Finelli. And this is a book that I really love, Walt Disney Concert Hall at LA, The Backstage Story by Patricia McKay and Richard Pilbrow. Conference Center Planning and Design by Richard Penner. Next we move to other disciplines that are interlinked and interplay with acoustics. For example, an acoustical ceiling would integrate lighting and HVAC. Hence, it becomes important for an acoustician to understand the nuances of lighting and HVAC noise control. We have Architectural Lighting by David Egan and Victor Olkye. Concert Sound and Lighting Systems by John Bassett. That's about lighting. Moving on to HVAC noise control. Noise and Vibration Control for HVAC Systems by Mark Schaffer. And this is a very practical book, handbook. Noise and Vibration Control for HVAC, CIBSE Guide B5. This brings us to the related subject of noise and vibration. What is sound? Sound is nothing but vibration. I speak because my vocal cords vibrate, and you hear because it comes to your eardrums which vibrate. Similarly, there are machines that make noise because they vibrate, and hence rotating machines need noise and vibration control. And here are the books for this subject. First book is again a legend and a classical textbook, Handbook of Acoustical Measurements and Noise Control by Cyril Harris, Handbook of Noise and Vibration Control by Anthony Barber, Sound and Vibration Design and Analysis, again handbooks by the National Environmental Balancing Bureau, and a companion book to this are the procedural standards for the measurement and assessment of sound and vibration. Finally, Handbook for Industrial Noise Control, paper submitted to NASA. Acoustics, though a subjective experience, is actually a mathematical exactness. It's a science, and it has an objectivity to it as well. Well, if you are mathematically inclined, here are the books for you. Noise and Vibration Control by 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘀𝘁𝗃, him a legend, the book a legend. Engineering Noise Control, Theory and Practice by David Weiss and Colin Hanson. Acoustics, back to acoustics by 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘀𝘁𝗃. Acoustical Measurements, 𝗕𝗲𝘀𝘀𝘁𝗃, reference books. Fundamentals of Acoustics by 4 authors, you'll see the name on the slide. Room Acoustics by Heinrich Petroff. We started with the history of modern acoustics, and now we circle back to pre-modern times. And there are two books, more of a hobby, that go to the origins of acoustics by Frederick Winton Hunt. Sounds of Our Times, 200 Years of Acoustics by Robert Baer. CISCA has some good handbooks like Ceiling Systems Handbook, Metal Security Ceilings for Prisons. Another good source of knowledge is the conference proceedings like the ICA, International Congress on Acoustics. This was at Rome in 2001, and the joint meeting of the Acoustical Society of America and the European Association that was in 2008, again after 1999 at Paris. These also are very useful. For sure, some of the information in these books could be dated, these books are from the 1990s, as I told you. But then in 2020, conditions could be slightly different. Well, you got to pick and choose. For example, now, sustainability and hygiene in the year 2020 is very important. So how they can be applied to acoustics would become very relevant. I hope you like this episode. It's more for the purist, the hobbyist, and those passionate for acoustics. It does help to know the subject well, apart from the practical experience or even the academic qualification. Well, acoustics is good sound, and today good sound is needed both at homes and in hospitals, in hotels and in offices, and everywhere else in between for the built environment. Happy reading, friends. Bye bye.